Hi, this is Elodie Nowodatsky, and I am the host of a self-published author's diary. Today's November 7th, 2025, when this podcast episode releases. And I will be sharing a little bit more about my fuck it book. That's how I called Nice Guys Don't Kiss Like That at Christmas. The book that Steamy Rom-Com kind of thing, Hallmark movie with the door wide open that releases today. You know, we talk a lot, I don't know if you've heard, but authors sometimes talk about the book of their heart. There is a blog post from Beth Revis back in 2012 who was talking about the book of my heart, saying that it's a phrase she's hearing more and more. It's a term writers are using to explain to others that the particular project they're working on is one that is very personal and dear to them. And it's something that when I have author friends who talk about the book of their heart, is like something that is either where they poured more of themselves in or where they really, really got lost into the book itself. And it happens all the time. I mean, when you're writing, you get lost in a book. You also pour some things of yourself inside the book, even if it's not necessarily what readers think about, like, oh, well, this is exactly that person. No, but there might be a little bit of something, a smell that reminds you of a memory. It could be a quirk that either you have or someone close to you has, or it could be the way you handle certain things without being exactly, because, for example, when I write, I also write romantic suspense, right? So there are a lot of trauma and drama in those books, and I did not experience exactly those particular moments, but I experienced when I wrote Trust Me Not, I was talking a lot about the scars that are not visible and how hard it is sometimes to just remember that you need to keep moving. And I wrote that book during chemo and before my stem cell transplant. It got released before my stem cell transplant. So it was also very deeply personal in a lot of ways, but there was no mention, there was almost no mention of cancer during that book because none of the main characters had themselves dealt with cancer. I'm thinking as I'm talking because the mom of Erin did have, but Erin was not the main character in that book. So it was just very, I don't know if I have a book of my heart. Like, I'm thinking about it and I have a lot, like the book where everything is just poured. And Nice Guys Don't Kiss Like That at Christmas is is a book that I'm very close to. It was a hard book to write, but it was a very cathartic book to write. It was a book that made me laugh. And there are a lot of things of that book that a lot of moments, a lot of characters, a lot of moments that I'm just very, very excited about, that means a lot to me. And I'm crossing my fingers that it resonates with you if you're reading it or with the readers. And maybe the book of my heart is actually, no, it's not. Like, I have a witch story that has been shelved. That's one of the first book that I wrote from beginning to end. It's Playing with Fire is the name of that book. And I still have it in my mind and I want to rework it at some point. And I've actually been thinking about doing a podcast about the witches and legends of France, because that book takes place in France, and that would be research for other books that I would like to do that are kind of like witchery. Not the point of this podcast episode, but just to let you know where my brain is going with this. But Nice Guys Don't Kiss Like That at Christmas is my fuck it book. It is my fuck it book. This is what I wrote at the end of Nice Guys Don't Kiss Like That at Christmas. He've had cancer and is living a rom-com because fuck it, why not? While revising this story, what seems like forever ago, but was most likely end of 2024, I hit a moment that did not feel right. Why did Eve ghost Adam? After everything they shared, after the way he made her feel, why, oh why, wouldn't she show up in Pittsburgh? I'd given her a backstory that did not feel like hers. it felt wrong. Like Santa without his reindeers, like a vanilla cupcake without frosting, like a romance novel without a happily ever after. To give them a real second chance, I had to dig deeper. I had to trust myself. And then I knew. And yet, part of me hesitated. I didn't want to use cancer as a plot device, and I don't think I did. Still, let's be real. When I got diagnosed, it felt like a shitty plot twist. At first, I tried making the cancer storyline belong to someone else. Then came the moment of, wait, why the hell can the heroine of my rom-com be the one who had cancer? Like, why cannot that be her? I'd written a steamy, angsty romance under a pen name where the heroine had cancer. It did not define her, but it had changed her life. It informed some of her decisions. Years of treatments had an impact on me, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Writing under a different name made it easier somehow to go deep. None of those stories are an autobiography. None of those stories are my story. Let's be very clear. It's not my story. But they definitely hold parts of me, like all my books do. So why not a rom-com? I had cancer. I still laughed and laughed a lot. There were rom-com moments during treatment and a few sad ones, a few quiet ones, a few sleepy ones, and yes, a few horror movie ones too. And remission is different for everyone, I'm sure. And for many, like for me, cancer still has an impact years later. It's in the background, it buzzes sometimes, not always there, sometimes buzzing louder, sometimes quiet. But the fatigue, the neuropathy, some other fun side effects, they're still there. During treatments and now, I had nurses who made everything better. 2 of them had cancer. I mean, I had like a lot of nurses made everything better, but 2 of them had cancer when they were younger that I know of. That's why they became nurses. They told me that story. They shared their story with me. As I wrote in the dedication, they fought for me in ways that still make my throat tight with gratitude. Eve is for them and for every nurse out there making the world better for patients. And while I mention Eve's caregivers in the book and the people who've made a difference, I want to say here too that if you've ever had someone close to you who had to deal with cancer and you showed up for them, or you were their caregiver, or you are their caregiver right now, I see you. I'm so grateful for all the people that were there and are here for me. And I want to give a shout out. I know it's not the acknowledgement and it's not my dedication, but my parents and my husband. But my husband I've already mentioned, but my parents came to the US every couple of months. They stayed for such a long time, and this book, this fuck it book of mine would not be there without them and their support throughout my life, for giving me this love of reading that then gave me this love of writing, and for supporting me and being there too when I was going through those very hard moments during cancer. I know being a caregiver is not easy, and if you are one right now, I hope that you have a circle around you too, that you have someone or people who are there for you too, because that is so important. So this book is also for you. And maybe one day I'll write a book that's more focused on a rom-com experience for a caregiver. But I just want you to know that, again, I see you, and I wanted to say I'm in awe of you, but I also know that sometimes it feels like this is the only thing you can do. And then sometimes it feels like so overwhelming and so hard. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's easy, happy moment. And maybe sometimes you also cry in the shower. So yeah, this book is also for you. This fucking book of mine is also for you. And for every person who's had cancer and thought they were supposed to act or feel a certain way, who felt like they had to be inspiring and then felt guilty when they weren't, who stood in a pond feeling alone, whose identity became patient, but who still carved out space to be themselves, even if it meant crying in the shower, or laughing at moments that would make others wince, or rediscovering tiny parts of themselves with partners, parents, kids, friends, with books, stories that they got lost into and found some peace and joy in, or processed feelings between the pages because it was safer, or with a therapist who taught them it was okay to ask for help, to be themselves, who helped them realize that you could cry and laugh and be, and it was okay to not be okay. The ones who were unlucky when partners bailed, it happens, or very lucky with partners who not only stayed but tried to make everything better, who even went to therapy with you to learn to communicate even better. Yes, in my case, I'm very lucky. Who are still living in any way they can, and who know progress is not linear. It's also for those who did not make it, and the ones still in the thick of treatment, hoping, crying, laughing. I carry them with me, and I want to honor them somehow. Whew. I have, that's not in the book, but I have so much more that I would say about certain terms sometimes. Like, you don't have to, like, everybody is different. Some people embrace the entire fighting and vocabulary, and if that's what you need during the moment, after the moment, during treatment, after treatments, whatever. I sometimes feel like when the word fighting is used, it makes it seem like somebody loses if it doesn't work. I feel like it's not the person losing. Like, it's not, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't think the person is losing. The person is not. The person is doing everything they can, and they are not losing the battle. Like, that's the war metaphor sometimes for me seems to almost put the blame on the person. And I know that's not the case. I know a lot of time it's not the case, but that's sometimes the way I see it when I read those things. But anyways, let's go back to what I wrote in the book. This was a little tangent. So not long ago, I read Heartless Hunter and Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicciarelli. And at the end of Rebel Witch, she mentioned Heartless Hunter was her fuck it book. That's what she said about it. For what it's worth, Heartless Hunter was my fuck it project. When I first sat down to write this story, I just had a baby and was very much in survival mode. I did not care what anyone thought about this book, screaming to get out of me because I didn't have room to care. I hope you find the courage to be unapologetically yourself and start making your life and maybe even the world what you and the ones you love need it to be. And that stayed with me. When Eve became a nurse who had cancer and it did not define her but informed who she is now, it felt right. And yet I've fought of all the reasons not to give a rom-com main character cancer history. Why? Because I was scared. Scared I wouldn't do her justice. Scared I was putting too much of myself on the page. Scared readers would think, cancer? And then I thought of the book I wanted to write, how right it felt, how it felt like Eve's story. And I thought, why the fuck not? And I decided to be courageous. So this one is my fuck it book. And it's as much for me as it is for you. If you ever stood in the shower crying, or if you ever sometimes felt helpless and started singing off key or not, maybe this can be your fuck it book too. That was the end of what I wrote in the book. But I wanted to say, if you're listening to this right now and you feel like this is a book you need to read, and this is not very, my husband is listening to this, is going to be like, Elodie, you're running a business. And I am. And also, if this book is currently 99 cents, if you're listening to it later, it's going to be $4.99. And if you feel like this is a book you need or want to read, mostly if you need to read it or feel like you need to read it, or just send me an email and I'll send you a copy. I'll send you an ebook copy. My email is, you can reach me at elodie@elodienowodatsky.com. So it's Nowodatsky is Nowods Azkij. I will write it in the show notes. So if you're writing a story right now, whether it's your fuck it book or the book of your heart, I know not everybody approaches writing the same way. I know that the book you want to write may be the book you want to write for many different reasons. It can be a business decision. It can be an emotional one. It can be a necessary one. It can be a therapeutical one. I don't know, therapeutical, is that a word? But for whatever reason and whatever you're writing, whether it is for publication purposes, whether it's just for yourself, whether it's to query later, whether you're in the query trenches and you're still trying to write, and whether you're taking even a break from writing because writing has been too much, because you're trying to process whatever you're trying to process, because you just need time to input. That's because Simon's word with Gallup, but like maybe you're just trying to like daydream, and maybe you're trying to refill the creative well, and maybe you're just trying to be without any additional pressure. I hope that you have a book that you're reading if you're not writing right now, or if you're writing, I hope you have a book that you can get lost into and you can feel and you can just be. Writing is not always easy. I think we all do it for different reasons, and sometimes we all do it because we just have the urge and the need to put those stories in our head, to process things as well via fiction. And yeah, I hope you find the words you need, whether it's in the words you write, in the words you read, in the words that someone tells you. And on this note, to all writers out there, happy writing, or not, if you're not writing right now. And to everyone out there, happy reading.